Good morning, everyone. Joseph Lackland here. Thank you for stopping by. This is the pre-market morning report for Monday, April 27th, 2026. I'm off to a little bit of a late start today, so I will keep this brief. We're going to go through a few news headlines and some technicals, also some overnight action in the futures. We saw a slight gap higher in crude, a slight gap lower in indexes. The market is really not doing too much. It's the same old story with the headlines. We're supposedly negotiating some kind of peace deal. Meanwhile, the military buildup continues and the Strait basically remains virtually closed, aside from a few ships getting in and out here and there. So the market is still on the all-time high. The crude is still hanging around $95, but the gasoline is actually stronger this morning and continuing to rise. So we will look at the gasoline first. I outlined before last week that this is a trading range, that the gasoline is definitely intent on exploring higher prices. It cannot get below this 2.83 area, and we are now at the top end of the range at 330, basically 334 actually. So we did make a new high already. This is a stronger pattern than the crude. If we go to the crude is definitely strengthening here, but it's not moving up as much proportionally in relation to the gasoline. They usually move a little bit more proportionally together. The gasoline is outpacing the crude right now. So crude sitting at $96. We're a few dollars away from 100. So with a little bit more tension in the Middle East and some more problems that develop that the market becomes aware of, we can easily go right up to $100 again, and then we'll have $100 crude, and of course there will be some sort of reaction in the market due to the psychological number of 100 being on everybody's screen again. The gold is not really doing much. Overnight, the gold had a little bit of a sell-off during the Globex Open. We found support near Asia. We did not get to the first objective here at the S1. This 4690 area is definitely a key area of support. The market keeps bouncing off of this level. 4750, 4760 is the resistance, so the gold's in a trading range as well. Right now, we're basically chopping between the opening price of the session, 4713, and 4730, which was the support that we cracked a few sessions ago. So we went through this support a few sessions ago. We're drawing this line here to indicate that it was a support level that was broken and is providing resistance. If we look at the daily chart in gold, we still see that it is drifting lower. It can't really find any conviction to move and sustain up or down, so that this pattern might persist for the next couple of days. Gold volatility is diminishing as we go into this. This is the gold volatility right here. This is the ATR in percentage terms. So we're basically at 2% movement overall. We were at about 5% movement last month. So we've gone from about 4 or 5% moves per day in here to about 2. So this is about half of the normal activity in gold recently. NASDAQ is still on the all-time high. We made another new all-time high today, 27,550 area. In the ES, similar pattern. We're also on the all-time high with a new all-time high today, just shy of 72.20. The market is coming off a little bit right now. It did trade up to about 27,500 about an hour ago. We have since come off of that and broken 100 handles. 100 handles is nothing when the underlying price is 27,400. So these moves are not that large by percentage terms at all. The market is barely moving. ES, similar story. The Nasdaq and ES are highly correlated at the moment, so they're basically moving together. Although the ES did have some more strength overnight after the Asia Open. Traded up near 72.10. We came off. We came back up. We're doing a similar pattern in the gold and Nasdaq where we are sandwiched between the opening price of the day and the previous day's high. That's this green line here. This is where Europe opened at 71.88. So there was a little support buying from Europe, and that has persisted into the morning session. We've got about 35 minutes to go until US Open here. If we look at the overnight action in crude, the crude went up, like I said, initially, came off, came into the gap that it created from the first candle on the chart. That was support. Then we made a new high. Then we started to sell off early in the morning, probably due to a few news headlines that came out about the situation supposedly getting better over in the Persian Gulf. We've seen this pattern before where the news is kind of not so good over the weekend, or there's some kind of event, there's an escalation of conflict, and then early in the morning before the US markets open, there are these magical peace stories that permeate the news wires, and the market participants start selling the crude, and the crude oil starts to come off, and that provides a lift to the stock market. So this is the major headline this morning. Iran offers new proposal to reopen Strait. Trump opened a ceiling deal via phone. Lots of interesting little factoids here that may or may not be true. Says after a weekend of stalemate malaise, Iran reportedly offers new proposal for opening ship traffic while postponing the thorny nuclear issue. Trump says peace could come via telephone rather than face-to-face meetings. Iranian foreign minister has been sending written messages to U.S. via Pakistan intermediaries. Iran foreign minister visits Russia for talks with President Putin. Israel strikes deep into Lebanon. There's supposed to be a ceasefire there, but I guess there's not really a full ceasefire over there. It seems that Israel continues to attack targets in Lebanon. Iran offers new path to opening Strait. It says, running a little ahead of schedule, Sunday evening brought this week's infusion of pre-Monday open optimism. This is what has been happening here. Every single time we come in here for the new trading week, we have Sunday evening brought this week's infusion of pre-Monday open optimism about prospects of ending the U.S.-Israel war in Iran. Axios, once again, is the channel where all of this optimism is coming out. Says Barak Ravid, a veteran of Israeli intelligence who routinely posts anonymously sourced scoops, maybe they're true, maybe they're not, we're not sure, reported that Iran has presented a new proposal for opening the Strait of Hormuz and ending the shooting. Well, I'm sure that Iran has proposed all kinds of interesting ideas for reopening the Strait, and we don't seem to really respond to those ideas. We seem to have our own ideas that we continue to stick by and be stubborn about. Though Iran's concept includes a potential non-starter via proposed postponement of the nuclear negotiations, no details were reported beyond the notion of either an extended ceasefire or permanent end of the war that would accompany a full reopening of the Strait. Basically, the bottom line is that as long as the Strait remains in the condition that it's in, which is functionally closed with a few ships getting in and out, we are going to experience shortfalls in crude that pile up on a rolling basis. I think the number is around 13 million barrels a day that are not being added to the global supply. That's about 450 million barrels per month. And in a few months, it's going to be billions of barrels in a shortfall. And the production, if the war were to stop right now, the production is not going to just go back to 100%. It's going to take time for the production to get back to 100%. I believe it's a few months at least before production resumes to 100% of what it was. So even if the war stops right now, we're still going to experience a massive deficit in the production and distribution of crude oil. So hence that's why the gasoline continues to go up. That's why the crude continues to strengthen despite the good news that comes out of the various channels. We will see what happens here. This is going to be an interesting trading session for the next couple of sessions. We do have FOMC week. The FOMC meeting is on Wednesday, so we're going to get that. There are several other economic releases. If you head over to economic calendar by MarketWatch, you can click on economic calendar and you can see that the releases are scheduled for this week. We have Monday, nothing here. Tuesday, home price index, consumer confidence. Wednesday, a bunch of numbers: durable goods, housing starts, building permits, trade balance, retail inventories. FOMC interest rate decision at 2 p.m. Press conference. The press conference is usually the thing that moves the market more than the actual rate decision, because Powell gets up there and talks to people about what's going to happen in the future. The market tries to price that in all at once. On Thursday, we have initial jobless claims at 8:30, employment, GDP, personal income and spending, PCE, Chicago Business Barometer, U.S. leading economic indicators, and then Friday we have ISM manufacturing. So we do have a fair amount of data being released this week, but the war remains in the spotlight. So we will follow that. Hopefully I will get some good script demos going. Going to be some good action here. I'm hoping for some more volatility. I'll try and catch it on tape. And I will see you guys on the next video. Good luck out there and take care.